Hi Photos subscribers. We are talking today about leading lines. We kind of approached that a little bit when we were talking about exposure with what might be too bright, what might be too dark, leading somebody's eye, your viewer's eye, to the subject. We didn't talk about it as a leading line, but it was that same kind of idea. Something is going to lead your viewer's eye to your subject. We were talking about those items as what leads your viewer's eye to your subject because of the lighting on your subject. This is a little bit more practical and a more in-depth conversation on what leading lines are. I positioned myself with the background of a brick wall. Now, there are a lot of horizontal leading lines that lead to me, but there's one key leading line that draws you to me, and that is this line right back here. Now, it's not a preferred leading line because it really doesn't lead you to the part of me that I would try to lead you to if I were doing this from a still photography perspective. But since it's videography, I used what I had. That being said, leading lines can be almost anything. They can be placed, they can be natural. I guess one of the ideas that came to my mind when I was thinking about leading lines is this, for the fact that if you shoot, say, animal life, and a cat climbs up a tree, you can use that tree branch as a leading line to the cat. You can also use the tree trunk as a leading line up to the cat. It all depends on your camera perspective and what becomes a leading line. Is there something from the edge of your photograph, for instance, this line right up here, this is a leading line and it starts right up here and it comes right down. I have positioned myself between the camera and the wall so that that line stops at my shoulder. The tree illustration could be used in this way, that you are shooting up the tree trunk toward the cat that's sitting on a tree branch, and that cat is looking over the edge of the branch either at you or something else. Maybe the bird, the cat has its attention focused on a bird. Either way, the perspective is, if you're close to the tree trunk and you are turning your camera up the tree toward the cat, the perspective of the camera once that shot turns out is whatever's closest to the lens of the camera or coming from an edge of the photograph that in perspective appears closer to the viewer as the viewer is going to be looking at your photograph. And that tree trunk goes right up toward the cat. I have in mind a picture of such an instance. It's an exotic quote-unquote cat in Texas, but I will find that and make sure that's available to my editor in wife, who will put this image of the cat up on the screen for you to look at. But it's a ringtail cat, and I did that very thing. I was waiting for the cat. It was a juvenile cat, and so it was very curious. Otherwise, we wouldn't have really seen or noticed this cat variety. But I was waiting for this juvenile ringtail cat to come down the tree so that I could actually get a picture of it. It was very, very early in the morning, so I had to use some fill light. The fill light blew out the pupils. Blew out. It really overexposed the pupils of the ringtail cat. It wasn't hurt, I promise you. So the eyes, you can see, are just like boom, very bright and overexposed. But it was really intriguing to see this variety of cat in Texas. I didn't even know they existed until I took that image and found out what they were and did some research more into what variety they are, where they live, and that sort of stuff. But really intriguing, that style that I was just describing to you of being very close to the tree trunk and shooting up the tree so that you have that leading line up to the subject of your cat is the same technique that I used in that situation. I actually leaned up against the tree so that I could wait and be still and allow the juvenile cat to be curious enough and feel safe enough to start coming down the tree trunk toward me. And as soon as I did, I was able to manually focus a little bit and try and take a picture of it and get a very intriguing image of that ring-tailed cat. But the issue was I had to focus in the dark. So we'll talk about a little bit manual focusing in other videos, but that's some of the challenges that we don't really think about that we're gonna have to face when we do some low light, or in some cases, very hard to get there, but no light situations of just how far am I away from the subject I'm shooting, and how do I set the focus with very little light, or maybe we can have some light until to get our focus and everything set up until we need to shut all the lights off, and then make sure the camera doesn't move, the subject doesn't move, and then the strobes go off with the camera and all that sort of stuff. But it's a very detailed studio setup of a sort. The important part is that we need to think about what is going to draw the viewer's attention to my subject. We talked about that with light, and now we're looking at what around us in a three-dimensional setting being printed in a two-dimensional form of a photograph is going to look like it is leading my viewer to draw their attention from other parts of the photograph to your subject. All that being said, that is a leading line, and the leading line is what's supposed to draw your viewer into that very spot of the subject that you want them to look. Please subscribe to the video channel and like this video if you learned something from it. And leading lines are something I still I use a lot, but I struggle with making them a part of my great photographs. It's one of those things, I think really, in my opinion, if photographers are honest, leading lines are always something that we should struggle with. Some perhaps just have a natural affinity for leading lines, and it's just something they throw in. That's not a skill, but that's a talent. Talent is something that we do very well with just kind of naturally. A skill is something learned and put into practice. So that part, maybe leading lines like me, for you are something that you need to learn as a skill and to put into practice. If there's anybody out there that has leading lines just naturally occurring in their photographs, that's awesome. I would really like to learn what you do and how to take what you do naturally and implement it into my photography. So leave some comments down below, show us, give us some links to your photographs and what you used leading lines in, and we will come back tomorrow and the days coming ahead and talking about other inspirational parts of doing some things to move our photography from where we are shooting now and making it great. Subscribe to the channel, like this video, and please turn on the notification bell so that you don't miss any of the future videos that we upload. Have a great one, everybody.